Let's move to my second bet on this card. Locked in the Buccaneers. I bet it at 6. I got it for show purposes at 6.5 at minus 108, but I bet it at 6 at minus 110. And the under is appealing. Buccaneers at Seahawks. Buccaneers, Seahawks. Seahawks open up at minus 6.5 at minus 102. There's been a 6-cent move towards the Buccaneers. There's still 6.5s out there. There's still 6.5s at Pinnacle, 5 Dimes, Bet Online, Bovada. That's it. Those 4 books right there. And, the total very quickly here in this spot. Opened at 53 and is now at 51.5. I still think I can get underneath it. Bucks are underrated. Seahawks are overrated. Jameis is not playing well. Wilson's been incredible year after year. The Seahawks don't take care. They don't lock down a strong offensive line. Carson has been okay. Seahawks defense is not the defense it used to be. I like the Buccaneers here with the points. I wanted to get it at 6.5, and I did, and I like the under as well. Donnie Rightside, Buccaneers, Seahawks.
God damn it, Jimmy. You are on fire. I'm telling you, you're on fire this week. And when you talk about maybe having a tough week last week, I think your reads are awesome because most people look at this game, well, Seattle's at home. No way I'm going to do this under a touchdown. I do think early in the week, it's great. Look, you have to bet Jameis Winston. As long as he can avoid disasters, which it never seems like he does, but one of those times he's going to be like, instead of throwing 3 or 4 interceptions, I'm just going to throw 1 interception today, and it's not really going to hurt us. That's when you can propel forward because that offense, when it gets cooking and he can make the right reads, you can go do exactly what the Seattle defense can't stop. Big time wide receivers on the outside. Maybe even get O.J. Howard back as a tight end to try to really extend that. You have some good running backs you can play off of. And the one thing when we take a look at that Seattle offense that you have to make sure button up all the hatches, that's on the running game. That's the one thing Tampa does extraordinarily well on defense. Let me just take a look at some of the numbers. Number 1, actually, overall on rushing defense. That's going to help because if Chris Carson doesn't get 7 or 8 yards and you hold him to 3 or 4 yards, that is a huge difference. I like where you're going with this game. Early in the week, Tampa Bay or nobody in this if we're going to be looking at 6 or 6.5. Like the look, Jimmy. Let's see if this one hits it later in the week.
That excites me. Very, very much. Mr. Rizzo passing on this one. A couple people liking the over in this spot. Tomer says I'd lean over. Buck secondary is horrible. Wilson is much stronger at home. Seattle secondary has struggled. What do you think of this total going from 53 to 51.5, Donnie?
I actually was leaning towards the over, to be honest with you, because, you could sort of pencil in Seattle to be in the mid-20s, and if Jameis Winston gets his way and is forced or engaged to be in a shootout, he can do that, and you have the weapons. But as we know, I don't really have a weather forecast to see it, because if we're going to throw in, 15-mile-an-hour winds and rainy conditions, obviously that ball is probably going to be on the carpet a little bit to try to hamper that total. But looking at Seattle, it's hard for me to look at unders when I'm betting Seattle and Tampa Bay at this point.
I get it. On Sunday, it is cloudy, and at game time, we are talking 50 degrees with very little wind, just 3 miles per hour. Jamone Sags joining us. Jake Bell in the house. Rob Bebnick said Seahawks are 2-2 at home this year, and their 2 wins were by 1 point. One of those games was against Cincy. Rico Roxas says the Buccaneers money line has value. Ziggy Ball's leaning to the Buccaneers on the spread. Arian's good for Seattle. Bucks off blowing game that they blew. Deerslayer Ski says Bucks may surprise a few peeps. Gerald Jones liking Tampa Bay said Seattle not a margin team. Prince of the City on the over. Tommy says Tampa's rush defense looks strong because most teams don't bother running on them since their secondary is so horrible. I hear that. Okay, I've got question marks towards the total, but I already locked in the Buccaneers plus 6.5.